Welcome to Delightfully Dysfunctional, a podcast about navigating the emotions of the human condition and the challenges that come with it. I'm Keilani Persian Mason, a psychotherapist and life coach with James Timmons, an ever-curious human. This is not a replacement for mental health therapy. Please seek out mental health care if that's what you're needing. This is an opportunity for self-healers to dive deep and understand more about themselves.
All right, here we go.
Your face was like so intense. Sorry. Okay. Welcome back to Delightfully Dysfunctional. I'm Keilani, and I'm here with James.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Greetings, Earthlings.
It's so smooth. Today, we're talking about relationships and how to navigate conflict, because that is going to be a guarantee in any relationship.
Right.
And I see a lot of issues come up around how do we repair after a conflict, or just people who might be more conflict avoidant in relationships, or kind of jump into conflict and point things out or be more critical. So it's a big topic.
Yeah. As somebody who's not currently in a relationship, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So
do you find relief?
No, it's something worth fighting for. I was always good though at conflict resolution, although like I would apologize pretty easily. Mm-hmm. I have a friend who was telling me about how she's dating this dude who was like obviously in the wrong, and he just still to this moment has not apologized. And I was like, you're just waiting for him to say sorry, aren't you? She's like, yeah. And she's gonna break up with him and everything. And I'm like, oh man, that
pride can get in the way.
Yeah, ego. Yeah, that's a huge thing I learned about myself recently. We'll come back to that. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh man. Okay. Wow. You're leaving me hanging.
Cliffhangers.
Okay,
Now I'm leaving our listeners with cliffhangers.
Oh, okay.
Stay tuned for my ego.
Oh boy. Joy of joys. Okay. So when we're talking about conflict, I think it's important that we think about some strategies. Okay. So one strategy to reduce any kind of defensiveness is try to be as gentle in bringing something up as possible. So kind of have a soft startup. And I would also say using I statements, which I know can sound so corny, but do you know what an I statement is?
Where you say like, wow, you have pretty eyes, like that. Okay,
good. So education, this is good. Yes, okay. We need I statements. That's not right. No.
Okay.
It's where we can say, I feel. And then instead of saying, you never care about this or blah, 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 it's like, I feel this when this happens.
Okay. Like taking ownership.
Right. And like, could we talk about trying to do something different?
Okay. And also maintain eye contact.
There we go. Sure. Is that part of an I statement?
Well, you know what's crazy? What's a really...
I'm like really focused on the eye contact. It's a little tense.
What's a really insidious like culprit in relationships? God, that was like a couple big words that I don't typically use. Is phones.
Oh, yes.
So hold on. Yeah. So I'm going to divert. This is a little rabbit trail. I want to get your take on.
Okay.
So when you and Zach are talking and you're visiting, you're telling each other about your days or whatever, do either of you like look down at your phones in the middle of a conversation?
We really try not to. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen sometimes, but we're also really good at saying like, do you need a minute? And giving each other a second if something comes up at work or whatnot.
Right.
But when we're home, we really try to set everything aside and be at home. So that is actually a big factor that I'm seeing in relationships is if you're too distracted to be aware of when your partner might make little bids for connection, then there's a lot of missed opportunities. Yeah. And being overly distracted or overly busy is sometimes a trauma response to not have to pay attention to other things that may need tending.
Yeah.
Or to just kind of not know how to slow down and take it down a few notches.
Right. Yeah.
So I do think that it's a concern, and especially we've just talked a lot about sprinkling in how having a healthy relationship with your phone is really important. It can affect your sleep. It can affect how much like the chemicals in your brain and how rewarded we feel by something. It can affect our ability to tune into our families and have like mindful present moments. So it's something we definitely want to be aware of. But all of that, coming back to like the I statements, that's something that we want to definitely practice. Not saying things like, you never care about my time, but coming from a place of, I feel hurt when you don't give me a heads up when you're running late.
Yeah.
I feel like my time isn't as important. So that's one way. Another way, I don't know why when your eyes are at your eyebrows.
This is I don't know what is going on with me, but that's been my way of giving people all my attention.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to give you like all my eye contact, like more surface area of my eyeballs.
I feel it.
You know? Okay.
Wow. Yeah. It's intense. It's a lot of eyeball action. For those of you that are just listening.
Yeah. Is it creepy? Should I really pull?
And then I'm like, wow.
There I am. There's my eyeballs.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. I need to like relax my face. Maybe you should too. Give yourself a little mindful moment.
Maybe I'm trying to like put more energy into you or something.
I needed to wake up.
Yeah.
Is that what's happening? It's like pep it up, Keilani. Oh my gosh. Okay. My next tip for reducing conflict is practicing active listening. Okay. And I think this is something that can be difficult, but it really ensures that your partner feels heard and validated. So trying to paraphrase what your partner's saying, like, okay, did I understand this right? This is what I heard. Really avoiding to interrupt and trying to listen to everything that is being said. Really coming from a place of, I want to understand. And then taking a break if emotions run too high.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. Like when we get too frustrated, we might say or do something we regret. And that's when we need to take a break. We need to learn how to like regulate our emotions. So just being able to say, let's take a 10-minute break. Let's time out for 15 minutes, whatever it is that you need. And then knowing that you're going to come back to this. So neither partner feels abandoned in the conversation. Like someone isn't just storming off without saying anything, but we're going to take this time to try to regulate and do something relaxing.
Totally. Yeah. I remember being in a argument once where, I was aware of like, of the triggers and everything. And my girlfriend at the time said, like, she was like, maybe we should like take a 30-minute break. And we did, and I was still like so irrational and triggered, even though I like everything I know now, I knew then. And so I was still like texting, like angry texting, you know, but it's so, that's a really good one. But you have to like, I almost feel like you have to set really ground rules. Almost, I heard this thing where, an emotionally mature person should write like instructions to themselves when they're feeling triggered or when they're having like an anxiety spiral or something. Like, here's what you're supposed to do. And
that's something I sometimes have clients walk through and do. But when we get to the point of feeling that frustrated, which is typically 100 beats per minute. So if you happen to have some kind of like Fitbit device, you could even check in on yourself that way. But we no longer are able to actively listen and understand what someone is saying to us, nor are we able to communicate effectively. So it's going to be very defensive. This already means that part of our parasympathetic nervous system has been switched on, our sympathetic nervous system has been switched on and is kind of trying to like swoop in and save the day.
Yeah.
So our heart rate might be going and we might be trying to think of the right things to say ahead of our partner before we're actually listening to them.
Yeah.
It can just create a lot of miscommunication. So if you can pick up on some of the signals that your body is giving you when you're starting to feel frustrated, like, for me, I might start to feel warm. I might start to notice starting to get a headache. There might be certain signs, and those are good cues to pay attention to. So we just don't go into a place where everyone is just too hurt and said so much that they don't really mean.
Faux show.
Yeah, no one likes that.
No. Yeah, and that's honestly, I wonder how much of like relationships, how much damage in a relationship was caused in the moment, in the middle of a triggered state. Like I would, probably the majority of it, because you don't typically like hurt each other when you're like rational and you're like in a good place.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, this is also a part of practicing this outside of the moment. You know, there's a lot, like kids do fire drills and they're doing this over and over again just for the moment when they might need it. So there's muscle memory. And I think a lot of the time we're not really practicing how to feel more grounded or calm ourselves, yet we're expecting to be able to pull it out of our pocket and know when the moment is needed. So this is why it's important to try and find that state, that part of that parasympathetic nervous system, and the ability to like switch from being on high alert and then how do I let my body calm back down?
Totally.
So one thing when I worked at the elementary school, which is kind of funny, I suppose an adult could do this too. It's just a sensory activity, but I had that kinetic sand. And when there would be a kiddo that was just really too elevated to be able to talk, I would just like set that over on the table and then return back to what I was working on and just said, I'll give you like 5 minutes and I'll check in on you, but I'm here if you want to talk. And 9 times out of 10, they'd be ready to talk before that 5 minutes, even maybe less than a minute in, because they were playing with that sand. It kind of got them distracted. It got them back into their body, and they were able to have like a rational conversation again. So whenever we can bring in our senses, I think that really helps. Taking a cold shower, just splashing cold water on your face, going for a brisk walk, all kinds of different options that can kind of stimulate you to calm the F down.
Have you ever taken a knife to that moon sand, the kinetic sand, like sliced it? It's so relaxing. I mean, I wouldn't recommend giving a child a knife in that situation.
Yeah,
but
don't do that.
Yeah. But like I think that's all like self-regulation. Also something to note, something my own experience recently is that just how much like my unhealed wounds would show up in relationships where because I thankfully had this like recent season to really sit with like my unhealed places, and now I feel a lot more calm, and I noticed like a difference in my nervous system. In fact, this morning, I was kind of talking to this gal from my past, and we agreed mutually that it's just best if we leave it in the past, which I was like proud of myself. I didn't feel any like pain from that at all. And it was just like I felt like yeah, it's good when you can like evaluate somebody that you kind of had like a little bit of hope for and realize, no, this is not good. This doesn't represent who I'm trying to become, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of picking the right partner is like loving yourself enough and caring about and recognizing who you would be your best self with. And that kind of brings us into the next one, which is about not attacking the person, focusing on the issue. Or in this like context, we're talking about like focusing on the quality of the relationship.
Yeah.
Not that it's this person that's going to be able to elicit that, but like who makes you feel the most you. But if we're flipping this into what we do in conflict, we're saying instead of making a personal attack on someone, this is really not a grievance of a character flaw, but that, hey, there's this difference between us that I'm noticing. You know, I really enjoy lots of quality time and time together, and you really appreciate your independence. And this has been an issue where we're having different conversations where I always feel like we're not on the same page.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing this difference. Can we kind of figure out a way for both of us to feel better, for us to feel more understood? So it's coming at it again. Like we're talking about the issue, not about one person being right or wrong.
Yeah.
And then finding common ground and compromising. This takes some practice too, but because in a compromise, neither person is 100% satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean... but the thing is, one thing to really watch out for is that it's almost impossible for somebody to compromise if they are using their partner as a Band-Aid for things, because it's like if you're using your partner to like mask all your undealt with baggage, then well, then I mean, it's really honestly, you should probably not be in a relationship. But
yeah, probably not. Tell me how that ties in with compromise.
Sorry, that was just I don't know how.
Okay, that was just, we have to find a word or a term for like the James tangents.
Yeah. Okay.
What do we call those?
Well, we used to call them hot takes. That one wasn't a hot take though.
No, it was just like we skipped along a new trail.
I'm not a linear thinker. Although I am under the influence of Adderall, so I'm a little more linear than typical. But yeah, my brain just kind of teleports.
Teleport. Okay. We're just gonna be like, did we just teleport?
Did we just
somewhere?
teleport? Are we island hopping?
That's what we're gonna say.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I just wanted a name.
Sorry.
For it.
Yeah. But you're really good at bringing it back, so let's bring it back.
You're doing good. We're hanging in. Okay. Man, taking responsibility. I know this is a hard one for some people, and you tend to maybe get more defensive, but it's such a act of maturity and commitment to the relationship to be able to say sincerely, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry I hurt you. That wasn't my intention. I want to understand what I did and how I can fix it. Mm-hmm. You know, just being able to say that, not without an I'm sorry, but just letting someone know, no, I heard you. I hear what you're saying, and taking ownership. That's to me a huge sign of strength.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting again, like so many people can feel very uncomfortable with taking accountability and taking responsibility to apologize. And I think it's important that we actually see that as a real sign of maturity and strength.
Yeah. And I mean, I think strength is the right word, because it's like, it's an act of vulnerability and you're like letting your walls down. And because it's when you're triggered and you're really like standing your ground, you are holding on to like whatever hill you're dying on with all of your strength. And for you to kind of loosen your grip and like go, oh man, I was wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, first that you have to, I don't think you can get there until you're like, your stress hormones have kind of like subsided a little bit. And, but yeah, it is a really humbling feeling, but I think that, closeness really, really blossoms in humility, you know?
Yeah. I think it's a beautiful opportunity for more, like I already said commitment, but even intimacy in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I know in longer term relationships, there can be that dynamic of I'm always the one apologizing and they're never apologizing. And this might come up and bring up another area of kind of a perpetual problem, meaning this comes up frequently in discussion. This is not the first time we've had this talk. We've had this talk over and over and over again. I'm tired of this talk.
Totally.
And that's where I think we need to lean into some of these strategies, some that I'm sharing, but some that really need to be fostered in some kind of like counseling or mentorship so that we can really learn and understand more about our partner. But taking responsibility goes a really long way. I think in this one, I think you'll appreciate, but in moments that are appropriate, a lighthearted joke can kind of relieve some of the stress and like bring some perspective. Has to be appropriately timed though. That is the main key thing here. Keep it respectful. But if it can just like alleviate some of the heaviness, I think it can send more reconnection back to the friendship. Like, okay, this is still that person who makes me smile. Yeah. And the tension kind of alleviates a little bit.
Yeah, my problem used to be joking too much, and then
right. So maybe inappropriately.
Right. It'd be like somebody's like my partner's like dad died. I'm like, well, at least you don't have to work. You know. I don't know.
Oh no.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think. Yeah, you don't need that much help, right, James?
No. Well, I had to. Well, we'll talk offline, but.
Oh no. Okay. We'll send you to relationship boot camp. Those are some of my top tips. Do you have any other tips? Any other tricks up your sleeve?
As far as conflict resolution?
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing was just for me was learning about triggers, like to actually understand like what's going on like chemically in your brain. No, I think that all the tips are really useful. I don't really have any way I can apply them right now, but once I do, ladies,
watch out!
Watch out! You're
resolve
gonna
that conflict.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Wow.
I'm gonna be apologizing all the time.
Oh my god!
Just kidding. No. Although, yeah, it is important to apologize, but I will say to the men that you can't apologize too much. Like, you can't just be a pushover. Women, they kind of want you to be a little bit of an asshole. You know
what?
I'm telling you, like, it's important to be loving and considerate and curious and compassionate and kind and all that stuff, but a little bit toxic. Just sprinkle.
I don't think toxic. That's not what I'm promoting.
If you want your partner to stay, you have to have a little sprinkle of toxic.
I disagree.
I'm just telling, like,
I think
it's the truth.
Boundaries. Someone can have boundaries.
No, like, you got to play them a little bit. You got to play with their mind a little bit.
No.
So, like,
no, I don't sign off on this.
If you want to apologize, like, just wait a beat. You know, pump the brakes. Be like, I know I was wrong. That's what you're saying to yourself. I know I was wrong, but I'm gonna let her kind of stew in it for an hour, because then, like, she's like getting mad, and you come in like all knight in shining armor. Hey, babe, I'm sorry. She's like, oh gosh, you know.
And how does the hour of stewing help things?
It just makes them a little crazier, and you a little more toxic.
How does that help things?
Because then, like, you can kind of manipulate them a little bit.
Okay, say more.
This is my plan for my next relationship.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Run.
No, but see, the thing is, they're gonna run to me. You wait and see. Of course, I'm just joking. But sorry.
He just gave the worst wink I've ever seen. That's terrible.
So no, I'm just joking. I don't believe any of that stuff.
I don't know if that's true. I feel very frightened. I feel frightened by this conversation.
I'm a little jaded from past relationships where I look back and I'm like, I should have been less considerate, you know?
No.
Okay.
I think you have to know yourself and have boundaries. And if that's a step that's missed, then
you're probably right there.
You're doing things for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And I think then someone should, instead of questioning how much effort they're putting in versus someone else, question to themselves what it is that they're needing and why they're putting effort in those directions. And was that for a reason that you could actually get a guarantee from, or was it from a fantasy? You know, because I think then you have to be putting effort in a way that's being received the right way.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm rambling now.
No, I don't.
But no, I don't. I think you should take ownership when you need to take ownership. That goes for men and women. And don't listen to James. That's the moral of this story, folks.
Yeah, you're probably right. I know that you're a professional and you deal with this stuff. Yeah, okay, I won't. Yeah, you're right. You talked me out of being toxic. So
okay, yeah, glad. So glad. Yeah. I'm keeping an eye on you. Don't know what to think. Folks.
Well, I mean, next girlfriend that I have that you meet, and like you'll see, she's gonna be like obsessed with me. And
you're gonna be passing notes,
and you're gonna be like
questioning the toxicity of the relationship.
And I'm gonna be like, see, Keilani, it worked. She's not going anywhere.
Oh no. Don't listen. Don't follow.
Toxic men are created, ladies. It's all your fault.
No,
I'm just kidding. I'm throwing hot takes for entertainment value because I'm getting a good reaction out of you. It's working though, right?
I'm appalled.
It's gonna be comedy.
We're wrapping this up. I can't do this.
How much time?
Anymore.
Only 25 minutes. Okay. Should we riff a little bit?
Riff.
We are riffing.
Oh, it's painful. You know, empathy really means putting yourself in someone else's place, really trying to understand it from their perspective. And when conflict starts to get stirred up, I don't think either person is great at really pausing and reflecting and trying to think, how would I feel if I were in their shoes?
Yeah.
So really practicing that, and each partner doing that, knowing that, like, let me pause and really put myself in their position. I think that that's an important part of understanding and being a bit more compassionate to the situation. Yeah. Also understanding, though, that, you know, how one person reacts isn't going to be the same. And then that's a difference that you have. But how can we, again, like just find more ways to talk about what we might be feeling and help our partner understand? Because otherwise it tends up being something that builds up and becomes resentful. There we go. We feel resentful about it. And sometimes the communication is never really clear and both people are avoiding that conflict. It can just spill into other areas of life. So really pausing to reflect and think about, okay, how is it that they might be feeling? How do I feel about this? How can I communicate that is really important.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes that autopilot, you just don't end up talking about what's bothering you. Have you ever been in a relationship like that?
Where you kind of like keep things to yourself?
Yeah. Sometimes there's fear of someone's reaction, or maybe just being more avoidant is kind of the norm, but then it ends up becoming bigger and bigger. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, I think that is like the culture though that's created from the beginning, like where if things aren't received well. But yeah, if you're like really intentional, if both partners kind of agree, like to be empathetic, because I love that if you force yourself to see yourself from your partner's perspective, that kind of really creates a lot of self-awareness, and you can kind of take inventory and and be empathetic. Empathy is definitely has to.
I mean, I think the goal, there's an opportunity in any conflict to understand your partner better. Mm-hmm. And if we go into it with that being the goal, then this is a technique that's really going to help you uncover that and not feel like it's a who needs to be right situation.
Yeah.
And then being able to really take some time weekly, ideally, and setting that aside to talk about any unresolved issues. Kind of, this is our meeting time so that they're not piling up and they're not kind of creating small conflicts when you're not wanting them or unexpectedly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and that's scary though, because if you ask your partner, like, hey, like, tell me, some things that I need to work on, then you have to be like ready to receive it too. And like, because you definitely want your partner to be transparent and be willing to like feel safe to say anything.
Yeah. I think that's something that couples probably need to work up toward.
Yeah.
It might just start with, hey, in fact, Zach and I just had a conversation like this. It was just checking in on things like, did you schedule the sprinklers to be blown out yet? No. Okay. I need to. Hey, did we get a date night on the calendar? Okay. And then like, you can then add in, maybe we sprinkle in a different kind of check-in, hey, I've asked you to do this a few times.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about a system that's going to help that flow a bit better?
Right.
And again, like you can build up to getting to a point that becomes more and more comfortable.
Yeah. With a sprinkle of toxic.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, don't listen to that part again. All right. So those are my tips for how to repair conflict and how to just have maybe more productive conflict.
Yeah.
So, and I would also say, I don't think you only have to use these in a relationship. I think you could use these with any relationship that are like people that are really close to you in your life and you're wanting to just maintain that open communication with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
So you go and practice them, James.
Yeah. Well, I don't have friends either. So.
No, okay. If you want to be James' friend.
I'm picky though. It's my own fault.
No. Yeah. We're going to put a hotline number right under your face.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Put my phone number. Yeah. Hit me up.
Your phone number. There we go. Thank you so much for joining us, delightful humans. And you can learn more about some of my offerings and freebies on CoachKeilani.com. But more than that, we've noticed that there is 90% of the people who find our channel who are not subscribed. So if that is you, please subscribe to make sure that you get those notifications. And we're just so appreciative of this community. Thank you so much. And we will see you all in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.